Hi, welcome to the Step by Step podcast by Hidden Strength. We really hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi, my name's Tabanzi and I'm here with Lucy. Welcome back to the Step by Step program. Lucy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm 20 years old and I live in South Wales.
How's it like living in South Wales?
It's okay. I mean, it's not anything special, but...
A little bit special. I heard you talking a little bit earlier about...
James Corden.
There you go.
Yeah, they've recently been in Barry, recording Gavin and Stacey. So that has been fun. Something exciting to look out for on the streets.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the crisis lines?
Yeah, so I really wanted to kind of talk about my experience with crisis lines. I've used them myself and I also volunteer for them. So I just kind of wanted to raise some awareness about kind of like the expectations and the realities and kind of what people might expect from using a crisis line.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, is considered a mental health crisis?
It can look so different for everybody. So for some people it is at the point where, you know, they're seriously like hurting themselves or they're considering or already trying to take their life. But for some people a crisis can literally just kind of be a mental breakdown where they just can't cope anymore and they don't really know how to handle themselves in that situation. So I wouldn't really say there's like a criteria of a crisis. It looks different for everyone.
For people who are wondering, what's the expectations of what it's like to be in a crisis line for anyone who don't really know about it and would like to learn a bit more, for someone that they feel it could help with?
I mean, if you're considering reaching out to a crisis line, there isn't really like a criteria. So, you know, they don't expect you to already be at the point where you are considering taking your own life or anything to that extent. You can come through when things just feel too much and you are struggling to cope. So, I mean, as a volunteer, my kind of mindset is like, I'm there to help you at whatever point you come to me at. There's no judgment of this person, you know, isn't as unwell as the last person I spoke to. I don't really consider that at all. I want to help them at whatever point they come to me with.
As a volunteer, how do you like to personalise each person's healthline crisis?
I mean, first of all, like, typically we don't see kind of like history or notes. So when somebody comes through to us, we don't know their history. We don't know if they've ever used this before or, you know, what kind of experience they had. So it's really about kind of meeting the person that you're talking to at their level. So like everyone comes to us at very different stages. So in my experience, some people have come through and they haven't actually been ready for a conversation. They know they need help and they don't really know how to communicate that. So you just kind of look at what the person is trying to say to you and kind of like personalize their experience in a way that suits them. So it can be something so small like how they're talking or how they word things. You kind of get to their level and also just try and see the world from their view. And
almost let them navigate their story.
Of course,
so you can try to help them through it, not as someone who you understand where someone should be at, but more so help them to realise what they're going through.
100%.
What do you feel is the realities of the crisis lines?
From experience as a user, it is hard to get through. I think so many crisis lines are struggling right now with just not having the staff or the funding. Sometimes you are waiting quite a while for a response or an answer, which of course isn't ideal when you're in a crisis. But ultimately, it's nice that there is somebody there when you need it. There is immediate support. Maybe there is an hour wait some nights, which isn't great. But you know that there is someone that will help you kind of as fast as they can. And then from a volunteer kind of point of view, it is frustrating because the reality is there isn't always enough kind of staff to help the amount of people that we have coming through to us. But I just try to be in the moment with the person that I'm connecting with. Try not to think about anything else, because in that moment the only person that matters is the person that I'm talking with, and trying to help get through that moment in particular.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about the importance of the impact for someone that is scared to use a crisis line?
So many people are afraid of what might happen if, you know, they share something that might be kind of a safeguarding issue, or, you know, if they're unsafe. But ultimately, like, the guidelines are there to help you, and although there is so much stigma at the moment, especially on social media, about that, there's never a wrong time to reach out for help. As a volunteer, speaking for myself and probably so many other people that also volunteer, we just want to help, and we can't help unless you come through and reach out. So although it is really scary at first, it's so important to take that step, and you can and you will do it.
What's it like for the wait times of the crisis lines for people that do want to get that help but don't want to have to wait days, sometimes even weeks?
Yeah, so I mean, with crisis lines, it is kind of that immediate support. So typically, like, for most helplines, from my experience, you can be waiting anything from as little as a minute to like maybe like an hour, 2, sometimes 3. But it's something that, as a volunteer, I just try to do my bit. And it's really important to not focus on those numbers and the wait times and all of that. Do you know what I mean? You just have to focus on doing what you can do and not letting that pressure kind of get to you.
Help each individual as they're coming and not worry about all the external factors coming in.
Definitely.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who is suffering and don't know how to reach out?
I would say that you're not alone at all. There are so many people who also don't feel like they can reach out for help. And just know that there's somebody at the end of the line that wants to help you, that has your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And once you've taken that step to ask for the help, all of that kind of pressure just lifts.
Yeah.
So it's just about kind of finding your strength to take that first step and get the help.
Yeah. As being a volunteer, how do you find people unloading their crisis on you, and how do you deal with it afterwards?
Self-care is really important. So as a volunteer, I limit how much time I dedicate to helping other people, just because compassion burnout is very real. And sometimes it's hard, like, because you kind of I get this bug, and I'm like, I just want to help as many people. I want to just change the world of mental health. But it's really important to kind of put those boundaries in place. And like, after any shift I do on a crisis line, I make sure that I have a few hours to myself, just do some things that lift me up. Can't pour from an empty cup, so.
100%. Why do you volunteer for crisis lines?
I've been on both sides, and I have had so much support from crisis lines in the past, and I'd go as far to say as they saved my life multiple times. And when I got to a place where mentally I was doing much better, all I wanted to do was give back. And I feel like my whole narrative is just to help other people. It's my purpose, and it's all I can see myself doing.
I love that. Being that outlet in the crisis line helps so many people, to the point where so many people that are out there don't know how to express themselves, don't even really know what it's like to go through a crisis line. And to hear your story of you volunteering as a young adult will go a long way in helping so many people. What's something that you would want people to take from your story?
I think when I kind of reflect back to where I was, say, 4 or 5 years ago to now, the progress is insane, but it was a lengthy journey. It took so much time and reaching out for help, taking those steps, and it has just been a step-by-step process. But also, like, sometimes it's nice that people want to help, especially people that have been through their own mental health struggles and have their experiences behind them. But it's so important to wait for the right time to help.
Yeah.
I would say if other people want to help and make a difference, please, like, focus on yourself first before you try and help other people. Because, again, like, you get easily burnt out, and like you've got to be careful about being triggered and that sort of thing. So you've kind of got to do your own soul searching before you help other people on that journey.
Yeah. How often do you ever get people that went through the through the crisis line come back in a recurring situation, and how do you help them through that to ensure that they don't go through the same thing again, or hope that they don't go through the same thing again?
If you need the help, you deserve the help.
Yeah.
I don't care if, you've been helped 5 times already that day. Like, they're just as important as anybody else. It's hard to kind of prevent people, like, needing to text again or call again or whatever it is they're doing. But I think this is one of the expectations of crisis lines, is people think that it is kind of a consistent kind of path of help, but it's not. It is literally just for when you're in a crisis. We try to support you through that moment and maybe help you plan out how you're going to get through the next 24 hours or maybe even a week. But it's not long-term support. So it can be really tricky. And you do definitely think about the people that you've spoke to after a shift. But you just got to do what you can to get them through that moment.
Yeah. What's your way of, for sometimes where you may feel like a crisis that came through to you, that you was helping someone through, and it feels like it was a bit too much for you? How do you go through that? What's your own self-care and looking after yourself when you feel like you've taken on a lot?
It does happen a lot. I think for me, it's important that you debrief with somebody, have a chat about it, but also do your own reflection. So I've always, after every shift I've done, like, I have a journal, which sounds so cliche, but I love it.
It's the best.
Just remind yourself that you're making a difference, but also that it's okay if you're struggling as well. But yeah, it's just all about that self-care, which again is all everyone speaks about, but when you actually do it, it does work. So yeah, I think just having that downtime after a shift, and if I've had a conversation that has been kind of impactful towards me, and it's to that point where I feel like I'm not at my full potential to help other people, I will, like, either take a break or finish my shift at a different time, just because it's so important that you're giving 100% when you're doing these shifts, and I wouldn't want to give anybody any less.
Yeah. What does de-stressing or unwinding look like for you?
For me, I like to read, just kind of get lost in, like, a whole other reality. It's a really nice break for me. And I'm very big on just, like, watching TV. Again, it's just, like, kind of falling into something else, like another reality. You get a break from yours. It's a good distraction. So yeah, I love that. Yeah,
because there's so many influences that can just take you away from your own reality, or just being like, you can almost feel like you're entrapped in someone else's world. How do you feel the influences of social media today is impacting young people with their mental health crisis?
I think there is so much stigma around crisis lines in particular, especially where young people may have had a bad experience with whoever they were talking to on the crisis line, and that then impacts how other people may kind of reach out, or if they reach out. I mean, I see it myself on social media, and it's hard even as a volunteer, because you're like, it's not everyone though. And it's the same as like when you're getting a therapist, how like you're not going to click with everyone that you interact with. And like, of course, we'll always do our best. And that's kind of one of the things that you don't really get the luxury of it. Like when you contact the crisis line, it's like, it's hard to kind of ask for somebody else if you're not clicking with the person that you're speaking to, because it is a crisis line and it is kind of in the moment help. There isn't really time to be finding the person you click with, so to speak. But yeah, social media is definitely having a huge impact. People don't post about their good experiences. It is just the bad. And then young people are more reluctant to reach out, because if everyone around them has had a bad experience, why would they want to reach out for help?
Yep, I agree. What tips or tools do you feel like some people who are in a position to help these young people that are going through mental health crisis can do to either prevent or help what they're going through, in case they don't want to wait for the wait times of the crisis line, or they don't necessarily know how to get in contact with them?
So is that in terms of like if you were supporting somebody who was waiting? I would say the best thing that you can do to support somebody else in that moment is stay with them. And if they don't want you with them, stay nearby. Little things like try and have the conversation if they're willing to have a conversation. If not, just do something, like put something on the telly, you know, find a book, do a puzzle, literally anything. Just be with them in that moment, because sometimes all you need is company and to not feel like you're alone. And majority of the people that I've interacted with on crisis lines have said that they just feel so alone. So I think just being there with them through that moment, it's not about understanding them, so to speak. You just need to listen. There is nothing else, there's nothing that you can say or really do in that moment that is going to change how they're feeling. But just sit with them through that uncomfortable feeling until somebody can help them.
Not make it about them, but making it about the person that we all want to help.
You know, it's so hard to just actually sit and listen to people sometimes, because naturally you feel like to connect, you maybe share your experiences, and sometimes it's so nice to not feel alone. But when, from personal experience, when I'm in a crisis and people are trying to share their experience with me, I feel like they're almost trying to like one up me, or do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
and when you're in that mindset, it can be quite comparative. So I think it is literally just about listening and showing that you're listening, of course, but just giving them their space to kind of speak freely about what they're feeling.
Is there any way for people that want to volunteer with a crisis line, is there any way that they can get in touch with them, or how do they go about doing that? So
there will be links to crisis lines and help and resources in the description of this video. But also Hidden Strength is there between 7 and 9 every night, and they're there to help you. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to one of the trained therapists, then you can always look at resources. These videos could possibly help some people, but there is so much out there, and I'm sure it will be linked in the description as well.
And if you don't ever want to put your face up, you can always put in anonymous testimonials as well.
Yeah, so most crisis lines are also anonymous, so if you don't want to share like your name or your age or whatever, like it's not a requirement most of the time. Of course, if safeguarding comes into it, it's a different story, but you can talk to somebody anonymously and you haven't got to worry about anyone judging you or knowing who you are.
Yeah. How do you feel about telling people that you volunteer for a crisis line?
I don't.
You don't?
Not very often. Just because, especially if it's people in my life that are also struggling with their mental health, just because I don't want them to think, oh, like, you know, what if I get Lucy? Which is very, very slim chance. But also, like, I'm not doing it to kind of be like, I help people, like, this is what I do. It's just something that I do as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really one to kind of go around and talk about it. It's just not something that I've kind of really thought about.
Yeah. With volunteering, how does your future look?
I just want to help as many people as I can. I don't see myself not volunteering for a crisis line, like, ever. I mean, I might take a break at some point, but for as long as I can and for as long as I'm doing well and able, I think I'll always help people, especially in those moments.
What would you tell young people who are looking at your story right now and be like, this person's inspired me to stand up?
I would say that if you're in a dark place now and you want to help people in the future, all you can do right now is focus on yourself and focus on taking those small steps to make positive changes and aim towards that kind of path of recovery. And you can too help people. You can change your narrative. It's possible. I did it. And it's so empowering. I never thought that I could. And now that I'm doing it, I feel so proud of myself. And it's worth sticking around for.
Yeah.
You know, it gives you so much purpose, helping people every day.
Thank you so much for watching today.
If you feel like you need additional support after the podcast, we've linked resources below.
Please like, share, subscribe, whatever you're listening to us on today.
And download our Hidden Strength app.